Hi Krishna, Vijayalarasiga, Eva Purushottam, Prabhu, nice to see you guys. Okay, so we can go ahead and start. I want to try to make as much progress as we can. This is our third session of the overview for the Chaitanya Charitamrita Mangalacarana verses of Guru Maharaj. We'll just say a few prayers to begin. Gora Graganya Gana Go to Goloruharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namani Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachiya Dileka Kola Kahe Premananda Emona Gauranga Hridaya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Sehayamara Pranare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Judi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Vishegustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Vapahimam Vancha kalpatarubhyas Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I want to have an overview of the Chaitanya Charitamrita Mangalacarana. We went through everything. So an overview means we should be quickly done, but at the same time, there's no nectar in just glossing over everything super fast. So here we are just looking at all the verses. Guru Maharaj begins with Om Agana Tamandasya, speaking about our position, that we're agyana, we're out of ignorance, and it's by the salve of knowledge, Gyananjana Shalakaya, that our eyes will be opened. Therefore we begin by offering obeisances to Gurudev. And then he goes to Rupa Goswami, who's Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam, who satisfied the inner desire of Mahaprabhu. And then he goes to Vandeham Shri Guru. And then to Vandeham means obeisances to the six Goswamis and so many different personalities. And then to Krishna, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. And he offers obeisances to Krishna before Radharani. And as I indicated, that indicates someone in the line of Radharani. Because if someone's in the line of Krishna, they'll first offer obeisances to Radha, because that gives Krishna pleasure. But if someone offers obeisances to Krishna first, that's the pleasure to Radha. And the second thing is what's close to the heart that we hide. So then the next verse was Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, and how Radharani is a golden complexion. And different comments Guru Maharaj made about that. We're trying to look at this Mangalacarana as much as we can to understand what my Guru Maharaj was feeling, what he was experiencing, what his desire was in reciting his prayers. So today we're on the 6th verse, which I think everybody should know. Again, a comment we've made several times over these verses. is that I feel also that Gour Maharaj in doing this, as Baladevijabhushan indicates in his commentary in the first part of Tattva Sandarbha, that we should understand the adhikar and the sambandha of our audience that we're speaking to. What is their qualification, their adhikar, and what is their sambandha? What is their connection with the subject matter? What is their connection with the speaker? And so Gour Maharaj begins with a very vanilla-flavored mangalacarana prayers, common prayers that everybody can relate to, and then he begins to go off the deep end. Because these common prayers are something which the general audience will have qualification for, and there's some sambandha for. So we're going to look at text number 6, and I'm going to try to go on to text number 7 today, see if we can finish those two. Just again, an overview. Vanca kalpatarubhyas kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We're offering our pranams to the Vaishnavas who are vanca kalpataru, who are just like wish-fulfilling trees, who are kripa sindhu, they're oceans of mercy, patitanam pavanebhyo. Pavan means the wind. Pavan also means something which purifies. And patit means someone who's fallen. So that personality is patitanam pavanebhyo, who is a purifier of the greatly fallen persons. That's the Vaishnavas. Namo namaha. I offer my obeisances again and again to the Vaishnavas. So we could see this verse, as I mentioned, as kind of a common verse which gives some faith perhaps in the devotees, so they can know this is not something too far out or whatever, something I can relate to. But I want to look at this also, but from our tradition. To remind you perhaps, we did some research on this verse. The first time we found it in any publications was in Jan Chandra Goswami's Padati and in Krishna Bhakti Rasa Kadamba. Both books were written in the late 1500s, early 1600s. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Kadamba is said to have been written about 1630 by Nayananda Thakur. Nayananda Thakur was a resident of Mangaladihi village, and he was in the line of Parni Gopal, who was an associate of Mahaprabhu's associate, Sundarananda Gopal. Sundarananda was one of the Dwadas Gopals, the 12 principal cowherd boys who are eternal associates of Balaram. So he wrote this book, which, as we spoke before, if you recall, is kind of like a cowherd boy version of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And he wrote it very much in the same kind of style, even a lot of the same verses and things. So in text 42, in his kind of Mangalacarana, the first part of it, he quotes this verse. And Krishna Kun, do you have a keyboard? It's outside underneath Srila Prabhupada. And then he explains this verse, Nayananda Thakur, by saying, Mani probide pona shuna arabhai jarivan shatake bhav sindhu hoite par bhaja Krishna smara Krishna Krishna namanai Krishna bhakta sangha kori Krishna gunagai. He says that mani probadiya puna shuna arabar. So I'm telling you again, puna shuna. Listen, please. I'm telling you again, please hear attentively. That jadi means if, jadi vancha, your desire, vancha, take, that you have, bhava sindhu hoiti par, you want to cross over the ocean of material existence, then what should you do? Bhaja Krishna, smara Krishna, Krishna namanai. You should always worship Krishna, remember Krishna, chant Krishna, names of Krishna. But how do we do that? And I see these are the verses coming directly after he quotes Vanca kalpatarubhyas. To do this, to remember Krishna, Krishna bhakta sangha kori, Krishna gunagai. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. This is really cool. You'll see I made a little correction in the translation on the Vanca kalpatarubhyas verse, but the translator had said they are full Kripa Sindhu of compassion, but actually, literally what it means is they are the ocean. Kripa Sindhu of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. So that's text number 42 in his Mangalacarana in this book. So this is one of the two first places I found this verse. We don't know. Rupa Goswami in his Pajavali, he gives a lot of verses which were common verses at the time. And even some of them we don't know the authorship of. Some of them he gives the author, some of them he doesn't say. This is some contemporary thing. So this vanca kalpatarubhyas verse, it's very possible that it has been around since before the time of Mahaprabhu even, I don't know. But I would suggest that it's gained a special quality in the connection with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So he says then that you should hear this attentively. If you want to cross the ocean of material existence, then you should worship Krishna, bhaja Krishna, smara Krishna, remember Krishna, Krishna Namanai, chant Krishna's name. And how do you do that? Krishna Bhakta Sangha Kori Krishna Gunagai. You have to associate with the devotees of Krishna while singing about his transcendental qualities. So, as my Guru Maharaj used to sometimes comment, and I think perhaps it's directly in connection with this Vancha Kalpa, the Rubish verse, he said though that if someone wants to know where is the mercy of Krishna, if you say, Krishna, you're an ocean of mercy, and Krishna will say, no, that ocean is not with me. That ocean is somewhere else. It's with my devotees. And therefore the devotees, they're Kripa Sindhu. They're the oceans of mercy because they're Krishna Kripa Shrimurti. Krishna himself doesn't have mercy, but he gives this mercy through the devotees. Again, we see this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Madhya Lila chapter 15. There's a beautiful verse I'd like to contemplate on for a minute here. Krishna say Satya Kori Jai Mage Britya Britya Vansha Puri Vinu Nahi. Sorry. Krishna say Satya Kori Jai Mage Britya Britya Vansha Puri Vinu Nahi Anya Kritya. Prabhupada translates it that whatever a pure devotee wants from his master, Krishna doubtlessly grants. There's no doubt about it. Whatever magi, that the britya means someone who is a servant. Whatever that person desires, a britya vancha, Krishna definitely, he wants to fulfill that. So if we get the mercy of the devotees, then we get the mercy of Krishna. And how do we get the mercy of the devotees? By chanting Hare Krishna. So the Vaishnavas are kalpataru, they're like a tree. And Kaviraj Goswami, he speaks about how the devotees are like a tree. He says, Taru Sama. This is in Adi Lila chapter 17, in text 27. He says, Taru Sama. They're just like a tree in the quality of Sahisnutva. Sahisnuta means the forbearance, tolerance. Sahisnutva, the quality of that, Vaishnava Koribe. That the Vaishnavas, they should practice this thing. That even if someone bhartsanatadane, someone comes and chastises them or beats them, kake kichana balibe. They don't do anything in response. They just tolerate that. That's the nature of a Vaishnava. I see so many times today Vaishnavas wanting to defend themselves, wanting to explain themselves. No, you don't understand, but I mean it like this, I mean that. We have to respect other Vaishnavas, and if someone doesn't like us, that happens sometimes. I've experienced a few times during our travels, not so many times, thank goodness. I would be hard for my poor ego, perhaps, but devotees haven't had much appreciation. Said, no, please don't come here. One temple president told us that you're allowed to come, but you're not allowed to give any classes outside the temple, and no outside devotees are allowed to come, because that particular community, usually they'd have about 2 persons for Bhagavatam class. When we would go, they'd get 70 or 80 devotees come for class. But the problem is that they were from the community, which was mostly devotees who were initiated in the Gaudiya Mat or Babaji lines, and the temple president said, if you go, they can't come. The classes, and you're not allowed to go to their houses. So it hurt my heart. and we didn't go. So sometimes it happens. But the quality of a devotee, they tolerate that. Even if someone chastises them, okay, this is Krishna chastising me, and they don't do anything back to retaliate. That's the quality of a Vaishnava. And therefore the Vaishnava is vanca kalpatarubhyas. He's just like a tree in that sense. So devotees should behave like trees in that sense. Because Kaviraj Goswami states, Kati leha taru, that this taru, this tree, even kati leha, you take a chainsaw and you cut it down. Jenu kichana bolia. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't protest. Sukai mari tabu jala namagi. Even if that tree is drying up, there's no water, it's not getting any nectar or anything, it's not getting any sweetness, there's no reciprocation, and people just coming and carving their initials in the tree. Maybe they pass urine on the tree. That's all they do. But the tree doesn't protest, and it doesn't ask anybody for water. So Kaviraj Goswami further explains the quality of the Vaishnava as a tree. E matta Vaishnava kari kichana magibe. Kichana magibe, that the Vaishnava doesn't ask for anything. Aya chitta britti. He has this britti, this activity, this profession, the aya chitti britti. He doesn't ask for anything, like Madhavendra Puri, who was sitting on the bank of Govinda Kund, and a cowherd boy came and said, "What kind of brata are you doing? You're not begging from anyone?" He said, "No, that's not my program. I just do Krishna bhajan." And someone offered, "Well, some of the ladies were seeing you here just doing bhajan and not begging, and they sent me with this pot of milk. You please take it." Such a nice cowherd boy he was. And he gave Madhavendra Puri the pot of milk, and he went away. And Madhavendra Puri started drinking that milk. And oh my God, this was amazing milk. And then he realized that cowherd boy, that was Krishna. So those Vaishnavas who have the profession of Ayachitti Britti, they don't ask for anything from anyone, just like Ishwara Puri, Srivas Thakur, I'm sorry, where our next Bindu magazine will be talking about Srivas Thakur. And my Guru Maharaj gets into the story of how Srivas Thakur was asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how do you maintain your family? You have so many children, you have uncles and nieces and your parents and so many people, you're taking care of your wife, and I don't see you going to the job, going to work at all. And Srivas Thakur just clapped his hands 3 times. And Mahaprabhu said, what do you mean by clapping your hands 3 times? What does that mean? And then Srivas explained, he said that the first day, if Krishna doesn't send anything, we fast. The second day we fast. If on the third day Krishna doesn't send anything, then I go and I'm going to drown myself in the Ganga with my family, because Krishna's not real. So this is the nature of an advanced Vaishnava, Ayachitti Britti. They take up this, they adopt this profession. They don't ask for anything from anybody. They just accept Kimba, Shaka, Phala, Kaiba. Whatever things come naturally. And it's significant, I think, for those gardeners and nature lovers in our group to note the word Shaka, Phala, Kaiba. This is what I'll eat. Kaiba means to eat. And he mentions in particular 2 things, which are Shaka and Phala. Now, these 2 items have a similar nature. Shaka is, in America we would call it a weed. There's just so many weeds that grow, and poor people, they go in the backyard and they know which one, we would call it spinach. But they would know which one is good, like dandelion leaves. The very young leaves of the dandelion are very, very tasty indeed. So they're available for anybody. And the same thing with phala. Fruits are growing all over the place. They're available everywhere. We were just in Gour Eco Village, and I was astonished. They must have thousands of mango trees, and I don't know. It doesn't even look like they have a program for picking the fruit. It's just there, and different people pick it, and whatever. Some of the local people. It's just available for everyone. That's the nature of the forest, and that's the nature of a Vaishnava. He's satisfied by those things. He doesn't have to do anything else. So this vanca kalpatarubhyas verse is also significant, I think, because Guru Maharaj commented many times that without association with a devotee, we can't serve. I'll share with you something Guru Maharaj said in this regard. devotee asked him, this is from a darshan in Bhubaneswar on the 23rd of March, 1989, can we serve Krishna without association of a devotee? And Gour said, no, no. You cannot serve without association of devotee. Do you understand? You'll serve Maya thereby. And she'll engage you in her service, and you'll be thinking you're serving Krishna, but you're not serving Krishna, you're serving Maya. So that service has to be done under the guidance of a bona fide Vaishnavacharya, spiritual master. So this is vanca kalpatarubhyas. The devotees are Kripa Sindhu. They're the personified mercy of Krishna. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our acharyas have described in many different places. One that comes to my mind is in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he speaks about, uses a phrase, he calls it Indriya Vyapara, the senses engaged in the sense objects. He says that this is bhakti when we're not doing it for the pleasure of Guru, when we're not doing it under the guidance of Guru. And therefore in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami goes so far as to say that the sadhu doesn't have mercy. Krishna doesn't have mercy. But that mercy, he has mercy, but that mercy is given through the devotees. And therefore Gour said that if you go to Krishna and say, oh, you're the ocean of mercy, hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, you're Karuna Sindhu, please give me some mercy. Krishna say, I'm sorry, but I gave the ocean away. I no longer have that ocean. But now that those devotees, they're Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha, and they're vanca kalpatarubhyas. They're like wish-fulfilling trees who can give us whatever we want. And therefore Gour has also said that this indicates sadhu sabadan, that dear devotees, be careful, because the devotees are like vanca kalpatarubhyas, they're like wish-fulfilling trees. If we approach the devotee simply to satisfy our desire, then the devotee may tell us, yes, your idea is very good. You should do that. One devotee once went to see my Gour Maharaj. I tell this sometimes. Excuse me if I told it before. And he went in to see Gour Maharaj. He's a brahmachari, a close friend of mine. And he came out with a big grin on his face. He said, Gour Maharaj told me I should get married. It's so good. But he was speaking his desire to Gour Maharaj. And Gour Maharaj said, yes, you should get married. Very, very good. And as I commented on myself, once I went to Gour Maharaj and I said, Gour Maharaj, I have this idea. You wanted me to do the installation of Radha Gopinath, so while you're gone, I'll study puja under Banu Maharaj, and this and this. And Gour Maharaj said, yes, very good, you do that. Great. So I left. And then all of a sudden I stopped and I thought, did Gour Maharaj want this? Or is he just saying this because I want it? And then how do I know? If I go back and ask him, he may just say the same thing again. So I thought for a moment, and then I got an idea. I went back and I said, Gour Maharaj, I can't go. And he said, why not? I said, because I don't think you want me to do. And I want to do what you want. And then he was quiet for a moment. And he looked at me, he gave me a very piercing look. And he said, then you stay here and you worship Jagannath Balaji Subhadra. So if we go to a Vaishnava, we should be careful. We may go to a Vaishnava and just want something for ourselves. But we should go to a Vaishnava ideally with the attitude, what do you want? What do you feel is the best thing for me? Because we should be careful, because those Vaishnavas are like wish-fulfilling trees. They may just give us what my Gour Maharaj called vanchana. Vanchana means cheating. They just give us what we want to hear, rather than what's really good for us. So Gour Maharaj spoke so much about this topic repeatedly. I'm not going to go so much more into it, but just that without association with the Vaishnavas, without taking shelter of a Vaishnava, Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments in Chaitanya Charitamrita in one verse in Untitled Chapter 22 that there are three types of pious activities. Bhakti Mukhi Sukriti, there's Jnana Mukhi Sukriti, and Karma Mukhi Sukriti. So Bhakti Mukhi Sukriti comes by when we're doing some activities that are devotional, but it's still Sukriti, it's not actually Bhakti. And therefore, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur calls it Indriya Vyapara in his commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's the senses engaged with the sense objects, Indriya Vyapara. It's not actually bhakti, but it's something which, by coming in contact with the devotee, we get some benefit. But until we come to the point of treating the devotees like a desire tree. And Gour Maharaj, we were just at Siddha Bakul, and I was telling a story that I often tell when I'm there, that how I was giving a lecture there once, and one Gaudiya Mutt sannyasi showed up. I'd never met him before. I never saw him again afterwards either. And he sat down and was listening to my talk. And afterwards, he approached me when no one else was around, and he asked me, okay, who is your guru? And but Sanatana Goswami says you should bow your head, fold your hands, and say Sri Srimad before your guru's name. So I did that, Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And he said, I thought so. He said, you know, the first time I met your Gour Maharaj was here at Siddha Bakul. He said, I was a young brahmachari, and I came and I saw this elderly sannyasi. He was very, very effulgent. He was chanting. He was very emotional. And then he saw me and he spoke to me and he said, Sadhu Sabadan. My dear devotee, be careful, because this tree is a kalpataru. It's a wish-fulfilling tree. And whatever it is that you desire can be fulfilled. So be careful what you pray for. So in the same way, vanca kalpatarubhyas, the Vaishnavas are a wish-fulfilling tree. They're Kripa Sindhu, they're the ocean of mercy. That's where Krishna gives his mercy. And unless we go through the Vaishnavas, we can't get the mercy of Radha Krishna. So I see the sixth verse in this mangalacarana prayers. I see these are some of the moods, some of the comments that Gour Maharaj gave about this verse. I'm trying to give an overview. So we're going to go on to the next verse, text number 7. Let's see here. It's text number 7 in the mangalacarana. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Caitanya namne Gour tvishe namaha. Okay, so the first thing that he did is he offered obeisances to Guru, Omagana Timarandasha, and then he offered obeisances to our Sampradayacharya, Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mano Abhishtam. And then he begins to offer obeisances to all of the different Vaishnavas, the 6 Goswamis, and Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam, to his Diksha Gurus, his Siksha Gurus, and all the different Vaishnavas and 6 Goswamis, to Lalita and Vishaka, and to Radha Krishna and to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he offers obeisances to Krishna, then to Radharani, and then you could say that the Mangalacarana kind of begins again. He starts off this time with the Vaishnavas. First we offer obeisances to Guru, and then to the Vaishnavas, and then after we offer obeisances to Guru and then to the Vaishnavas, then we offer obeisances to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who's mahavadanyaya. We speak about the Vaishnavas as being kalpataru, or oceans of mercy, but Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is mahavadanyaya, because he's come in the mood of a devotee. So we want to get the mercy of Krishna, we have to go to a devotee, and what to speak when Krishna becomes a devotee himself. But as we hear, oftentimes, I just posted some verses about this, about the gopis and their relationship with approaching Krishna, and how someone has to go through the gopis to understand Radha and Krishna. So similarly, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the article titled Associates of Sri Caitanya, he says that Mahaprabhu is an extended subject. And if you want to worship him, if you want to approach him, you have to do so through all of his different parts, part of which is the devotees. Because those devotees are the manifestation of Mahaprabhu's mercy, and those devotees are also the personalities who are appearing in Gaur Leela, like Lalita and Vishaka, who are coming as Srup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who teach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who teach him how to relish Krishna consciousness, how to relish the mood of Srimati Radharani. So this verse, this Mahavadanyaya verse then, makes us think of the Vaishnavas, And it comes right after vanca kalpatarubhyas. And again, this is a verse which, some devotees, according to their adhikar and according to their sambandha, they'll be able to relate to this. I think because it's a commonly known verse. And he's speaking of mahavadanyaya, how Mahaprabhu is the ocean of mercy. And my Guru Maharaj spoke about this quite a lot, that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is mahavadanyaya. In the last limit of bhakti, Guru Maharaj, he sang a song which he often sang from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Saranagati. The first song is Saranagati. I saw him sing this song so many times. He liked the song so much. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori Swaparshada Sriyadam Sahavatwari Atyanta Dulabha Prema Kori Varidan Shikaya Sarana Gati Bhakatera Pran Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. He says that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to teach us. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jibe Doya Kori. Out of mercy on the living entities, he came Swaparshada Swiyadam. He came along with his associates. Saha Avatara, he descended here to this place. Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kori Bhari Dana. And the dana, the wealth that he was giving to everybody, is this Durlabha Prema, very difficult prema to get. Shikaya, he's doing it, Shikaya Saranagati, by teaching a Saranagati, which is Bhakatera Pran, the life of the devotees. If we don't surrender, then we have no life. We have to come to surrender. And Guru Maharaj comments on this. He says that Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahajana Acharya is written like that. So merciful, wonderfully merciful. And he's often said such a beautiful thing. Sometimes Guru Maharaj would say certain things that we'd heard him say like hundreds of times before, like the story of the blind boy and the milk. As soon as he would start telling that story, all the disciples who were there, at least I remember this in 1995, we kind of like just started laughing practically, because he just loved to tell the story. And he would do it in such an animated way, like none of us had ever heard the story before. And we just heard it 2 or 3 days before, but it was ever fresh for him. So anyway, this is one thing Guru Maharaj, similar to that he would speak over and over again. That Mahaprabhu was wonderfully merciful. And he says, Adbhuta Karunya, Adbhuta Vadanya, Adbhuta Audarja Vigraha. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wonderfully munificent, wonderfully merciful, wonderfully magnanimous. Indiscriminately he gives Krishna prema. And then he quoted this verse, namo mahavadanyaya, and he explained it. He's saying that Rupa Goswami offers this pranam mantra to Gauranga. Rupa Goswami gave this verse, saying that Mahaprabhu is mahavadanyaya, the most munificent incarnation. Why? Because he's giving Krishna prema. No one else, no other acharyas, no other avatars are giving Krishna prema. When Krishna comes in his original form even, he doesn't give Krishna prema. He keeps it hidden. He locks it up in a strong box. And he says, one box, inside another box, inside another box, inside another box. This prema is locked up. Krishna never gives it. So many boxes and very strong locks. Krishna doesn't give it. He keeps it hidden, secure. But when he comes as Mahaprabhu, he breaks open all the locks and freely distributes it. Such prema. So this is some of the things that Guru Maharaj saw in this Namo Mahavadanyaya verse. And it reminded him very much of this first verses in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Saranagati. And again, in this particular talk, which he printed in the last limit of Bhakti, he quotes the Namo Mahavadanyaya verse, and then again he quotes the first line of that song from Bhaktivinoda, Achanta Durlabha Prema Kori Bhari Dhanashika Saranagati Bhakatera Pran. Second line of that song. That this Saranagati is the life and soul of the devotees. So to distribute that, Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he came here along with his dham, his abode, and his associates. And Guru Maharaj said that in 12th chapter Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami gives a description, a list of innumerable associates, and he says, I can't describe all of them. And he says he came with his Dham and associates to give us that prema and teach us how to surrender. Because without that prema, Guru Maharaj said, there's no question of surrender at all. No question at all. Because it's based on prema, pure prema, love. Without that prema, love, and another famous maxim from Guru Maharaj, without that prema, love, your so-called correct surrender is either artificial, conditional or partial, will not be true and not be complete. So many times devotees, when they hear statements like this, sometimes they feel a little disturbed, and they feel even perhaps like protesting. Wait a minute, that's not fair, that's not nice. How can you say that unless you have prema, without prema, your surrender is just so-called? It's either artificial, conditional, or partial. It's not true and not complete. Well, what he's saying, he's speaking about the love of the gopis. He's not speaking about a religious process. He's not speaking about something which has been given time after time in different yugas by Lord Vishnu. But he's speaking about what Radharani has, what the gopis have. And so their love, that's real surrender. The surrender of the gopis is real surrender. And other people who are doing it for some dharma, artha, kama, moksha, some selfish motivation, subtle or gross, it's either artificial, conditional, or partial. It will not be true, not complete. And again, sometimes we find this a little offensive or disturbing in the sense that we feel like, gosh, that's not very encouraging. You know, other people say if you just bow down once in front of the deities, if you clap your hands in front of the deities, the lines on your hands change, your karma changes, and Krishna's so kind to you. But Guru Maharaj was speaking in such a way, it's just like, I gave the example recently to someone, maybe in this group, that's why I'm hesitating. I don't think so, but that if I approach a wealthy person, if I know it was through our talk that we were giving to the devotees in South Africa. If I approach some really wealthy person like Radha Jivan Prabhu, who's probably got, I don't know, $1 million in the bank or something like that. He doesn't tell anybody about it. Looks like a simple Saudi, like he doesn't have money for a razor blade, but actually he's got $1 million in the bank. And I approach Radha Jivan Prabhu and I say, man, you got to like give me some wealth. And Radha Jivan says, okay, sure, here's 50 cents. And I take 50 cents and I say, wow, man, I got some wealth from Radha Jivan. And then Jai Gour comes and says, man, you just got cheated. That guy is a multimillionaire. He's got so much money that maybe he's a billionaire. I don't know. He's got so much money. And he gave you 50 cents. That's nothing. So you can't say that it's nothing. It's 50 cents. Man, I can buy a soda pop maybe. I don't know if you can buy a soda pop with that anymore. I don't buy soda pop. No, you can buy some bubble gum or something probably. You can get something with 50 cents. Huh? But in comparison to what you could have gotten, it's like nothing. So without love, then the so-called surrender is artificial, conditional, partial. Indicating then, what does this really mean, the Saranagati? What does the Saranagati mean? We can take it in the mood of a sadhak, that I need to surrender to the instructions of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, I need to surrender to Guru and the Vaishnavas and follow the instructions and things. But there's another sense, that the gopis, they're the example of Saranagati. And this is what Guru Maharaj indirectly, I think, is saying here. The Bhakatera Pran, this is the life of the devotees, is the life of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Maharaj quoted again from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Radhikara bhave prabhu sada abhiman, shehi bhave apana ke hoy radha gyan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. The Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, sada abhiman. Sada means always, and the abhiman means that he has the attitude. Radhikara bhavi prabhu. But Prabhu, Mahaprabhu, always has the abhimana, the mood of Srimati Radharani. In fact, Se Bhave Apanake Hoy Radha, again, he was considering himself, he had this understanding that he is Radha. And Prabhupada writes in his purport to that verse, he says, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that the purport of the word abhimana, or self-conception, is that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu thought himself to be in the position of Srimati Radharani and was always ready to render service in that way. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, he assumed the complexion and emotions of Srimati Radharani and remained in that status. Excuse me. He never assumed the complexion or status of Krishna. Of course, Krishna wanted to experience the role of Srimati Radharani. That is the original cause of his assuming the body of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, pure Vaishnavas never disturbed Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's conception of being Srimati Radharani. So in that sense, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is mahavadanyaya. His mercy is astonishing. So I want to stop there. We did 2 more verses in this mangalacarana. Please don't feel that I hope I'm not taking too long for everybody. I'm trying to go over it quickly. Remember that we were taking sometimes 3, 4, or even 7 or 8 sessions for one verse. Now we're trying to do 2 verses in one session, trying to give an overview in that way. I just find it really, really hard to just run fast over the whole thing. Fakir Mahaprabhu chastise me for doing that sometimes, because there's no nectar there either. We can just say, yeah, this verse talks about Guru, this verse talks about Rupa Goswami, but why does it talk about Guru? Why does it talk about Rupa Goswami? And for our purposes, I want to try to contemplate what these verses meant to my Guru Maharaj. So I've been trying to find places where he quoted them, remember things that he said about them and that connection. So I'm going to stop there. And it's time I want to ask Radhajivan Gopal Prabhu if you have any reflections you want to share with us tonight. Did you win a prize today?
Yeah, you mentioned at the end of the class about how you can't have real Sharanagati or surrender without having prema that is either conditional or you gave a couple other options too. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry. It's a bit shocking in a way, isn't it? But it also indicates to us we're not just the International Society for Sukriti Consciousness. We're not just here to do some religious thing and get some pious benefit, but we're the Society for Krishna Consciousness. And Krishna Consciousness means Krishna Chaitanya, literally. Krishna Chaitanya means consciousness. Krishna Chaitanya means Krishna consciousness. It means we're the Society of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so what is the mood of that person who's conscious of Krishna? What does he want? We should always be thinking of that, and we do that through his representative, Sri Guru. I'm sorry, I cut you off, I think, Radhaji. You had something else you wanted to add?
I was just thinking, in our conditional state, what's the deepest layer or perspective that we can have of Sharanagati that we can try to apply? Here we should be surrendered, and here we should, surrender the Guru, but you're saying if we don't have prema, and this, real surrender is not there. So what's like the deepest or the, best way to apply it?
Well, one size does not fit all. You can't bring, 8 people into a shoe store and tell the shoe store, well, give everybody the same size shoe. It doesn't work like that. So different devotees will have different degrees of surrender in different ways. It may be partial, it may be artificial, it may be conditional, but the degree of partiality, the degree of condition, the degree of artificiality will be different with different persons. And that different degree is going to be dependent upon their sukriti from previous lives, the blessings that they've gotten, the mercy they've gotten, and especially the mercy they've gotten from Gurudev and through the Vaishnavas. If we've gotten more mercy, then we'll be able to surrender more, even as a sadhak. I mean, I was speaking this thing, and it sounds a little discouraging in a way. But Guru Maharaj also said that this path is always a path of optimism. It's always a happy path in Krishna consciousness. Especially we're serving Srila Prabhupada through Prabhupada's devotees. Everything's very auspicious. Is that okay, Radhajivan Prabhu? That makes some sense? Thanks, Prabhuji. I always love seeing the Gour behind you on the wall, so it's like, that's really good. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Let's see, we should probably ask, let's see here. Brenda Sundari, if you're alive and you're not dressing the deities or something, if you'd like to share something, because I know you probably have to go soon. You have to get class or attend class. Did you win any prize today?
Yeah, I found it interesting that I like that story that you tell with your Guru Maharaj, how you had this great idea and these plans, and he was so supportive. And then it occurred to you as you left that there was another layer, a deeper layer of surrender possible in the relationship. So yeah, I was just been reflecting on that, like, okay, there's different layers of surrender, and one is good, at least someone is at least you were asking him. At the same time, then in our own journey to see, like, am I going deeper in my surrender? What are those layers look like?
I'll bet you can relate to that, both as a parent and as a temple president also. Because sometimes the kids, they come to you and say, I have to. I have to have this sweet. I just have to have. And you say, yes, you take. And you really don't want them to have that, because it's not good for them. And they may get sick or something, but they're just going to have a fit, if you don't give it to them. Or a devotee approaches in the same way. And they're just thinking of their own benefit. I'm sorry, I can't, help make up the mangalartik tray anymore for the deities, because, I'm not getting my rounds finished in time, and they're thinking about their own benefit. Jiva Goswami, one purport, and his commentary on the Bhagavatam, he says that the mood of a devotee is so intense. He compares it to a wife serving the husband, and how a chaste wife will serve her husband even over serving the children, which is something we don't often hear in the West, but that's an Indian thing. And he says, similarly, the disciple, he'll serve Guru even over his own bhajan. Even if it means I'm not doing my bhajan, but I want to please Gurudev. And therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had a practice, a policy, which I'll mention, which is very controversial, will be controversial in ISKCON. And Gaudiya Math is pretty much accepted and known by everybody. But we often say Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed chanting 1 lakh a day, right? But what a lot of devotees don't know is that the vast majority of devotees he initiated into chanting 4 rounds a day. And not only that, but there's a famous story, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, I think, relates this in his biography. He says that one devotee was staying in the brahmachari ashram in the same room with another devotee, and one day he came to the Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, to complain about the other devotee. He said, Guru Maharaj, he's not chanting japa. He's not chanting 1 lakh a day. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, he is. He's chanting 1 lakh a day. And he said, Guru Maharaj, I'm really sorry. I'm with him like about 23 and a half hours a day. The other time he's in the bathroom, the toilet. I'm not with him at that time, and I don't think he chants 1 lakh in that half an hour or whatever while he's in the toilet. He's definitely not chanting 64 rounds. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, you don't see him chanting 64 rounds, but I do. And he considered that service to be not, he said, if someone is constantly chanting, that's a minor detail also, while they're dressing the deity, while they're doing book distribution in their mind, while they're writing, whatever, if someone's constantly chanting and they're constantly serving, that's equivalent to 64 rounds a day. So that was Srila. And I know a number of big acharyas in the Gaudiya Math who, when they were serving their gurus, many of them were chanting this many rounds a day. 0. And some of their well-known servants were also chanting 0 rounds. I don't even want to say names because These are some big Gaudiya Math devotees. I'll just say you've heard of them. I'll just say that much. I don't want to do any politics or anything. It's not politics. It's given. But it's something a little confidential. Because if we tell this to everybody in ISKCON, then we can imagine what will happen. But anyway, it was just, when you were speaking, this occurred to me. I bet you relate to this because of your kids and your position in the temple.
It's all the time. It's like every day, at least once a day. It's all the time. I feel like a broker or something. I have to like. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I do say like, right now it's like I'm really stretching myself a lot, and it would be helpful if you could. I do sort of share a little bit because I think people are just in their own. They're in their own worlds, and it's helpful to kind of let them know what's happening outside of their world. So I do that with my children too. Like, I understand you really want this. Like my son, yesterday was like, Mom, I want to get this game, this like video game thing. And he doesn't have video games, but his cousin does. So I was like, okay, what do you know about video games? He's like, yeah, I know they can be addictive. And I was like, what do you know about your screen time? And he's like, okay, I know it's only 3 days a week. And so, there's like a bit of a back and forth that has to happen too.
Yeah, and I think everybody in our group here watching, listening to you can also relate to you're a good example of a mother with children, somebody running a temple, and people coming to you with their own motivations. Now we can all imagine what it would be like. I don't know if you get it very often. What if one of your kids came to you and just said, Mom, how can I please you? What would you like? Or some devotee in the temple came. Yeah, maybe they might say, how can I please Prabhupada? Or how can I please Guru Maharaj, like that? How many times do you get questions like that?
Yeah, I think it's happened once.
Yeah.
It's happened once or twice.
When you get something like that,
oh my gosh.
what does that do to your heart? You just feel so happy. Oh my God. And you just want to hug that child and just you want to give all your blessings to them.
Yeah.
And that's how the Vaishnavas feel. When someone approaches us and just, oh, Maharaj and Prabhu, Mataji, there's this, I want to do this thing. Okay, yeah, you do this thing because that's what you want anyway. But when someone comes and says, how can I please you? How can I please Prabhupada? Wow. That's good.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a wonderful meditation.
So another meditation we can take that one step further. It feels really good if our kids do it, but they're not, and maybe we're disappointed. And some of you might think, oh my God, Bindu Sundar's kids are not actually Mahabhagavats. They're not Uttams, whatever. But rather than pointing the finger at everybody else, why don't we think about how I can do that as an individual, how I can approach my Gurudev or senior devotee and just make their day. Make your mother's day. Make your temple president's day. Can I do something to help you, to ease your burden, or how can I please you? I hope somebody does that for your temple.
Maybe I should do that more with my gurus. It's wonderful. It's such a wonderful meditation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. How about Ujjvala Rasagya? I know you're also a real person who has to go soon, usually, so I'm going to ask you if we can see your famous brick wall, maybe the outside of the hospital there. There she is. Hare Krishna. I think you should do some graffiti on the brick wall. You should take one of those spray cans of paint, like the kids do, and you should write Ujjvala was here, or Ujjvala's wall.
Hare Krishna.
Did you catch what I just said?
Sorry, Prabhu, I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we were just saying that you should, I don't know, it's a word they use for it in LA, I forget, but you should, someone can correct me, you should take a can of spray paint and you should write some graffiti on the brick wall behind you. And you should say Ujjvala's wall, or Ujjvala was here. And because
I can write Gauranga here, Prabhu.
Gour as well. Anyway, did you win any prize today?
Yeah, I'm using the whole time to just think and contemplate, Prabhu. How how can I serve you? That has to sink very deep inside. In the trying to practice bhakti so many years. That basic thing. How can I serve you? Still did not get much inside. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and for that to actually happen, the willingness, and of course one has to really slow down and see what Gurudev needs or others need, and only then the desire can show as service. So still work in progress, Prabhu, but I just needed some clarification on Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit. The dependence of Srivas Pandit. So the 3 claps, I have heard this before too, Prabhu, regarding the 3 claps. But something new that I heard today is in the 3rd clap, on the 3rd day, if Krishna doesn't send anything to eat, then we will just go drown because Krishna is not real. So is that the reason? I mean, Krishna is not real, that's why we would drown ourselves. Or maybe it is he's trying to say, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. I have so much faith that it will happen. I guess that's what it indicates to say. So much faith that it will happen. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna, to emphasize that point. Is that right, Prabhu?
Yeah, so perhaps what my point is this, that it doesn't mean that he's thinking Krishna doesn't exist, if that happens after 3 days. But he's thinking, to me, where is my faith? Where is my shelter of Krishna? My faith in Krishna doesn't exist. And therefore better that I kill myself. Because Krishna's not coming to save me, because my faith, I'm not depending on him. Just like I think Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sundarbha tells a story of a powerful Vaishnav king in South India who was fighting against a big army. And he was losing the battle. And he was a great devotee. And Lakshmi Narayan were watching the battle. And Lakshmi Devi was pushing Narayan, you should go and help him. He's your devotee. And Lord Narayan said, yes, I want to go and help him, but he's not calling out to me. He's trying to take care of it himself. So if we're not dependent on Krishna's mercy, if we're thinking, yes, by my strength I'm going to do this thing. And this is a complex subject matter too, because we know from Mahaprabhu's instructions to Raghunath Das Goswami, he said that you should externally be a worldly person, but internally remember Krishna. In other words, he said, don't be foolish, don't be crazy, just go back to your wife, work a job, do everything you're properly supposed to do, but internally you be renounced. He's teaching like that, but Srivas Thakur is on another different level. He's on a very, very high level. But generally speaking, I think it would be healthy for a movement if devotees would adopt the instructions that Mahaprabhu gave Raghunath Das Goswami. Because so many of us just want to be lazy in the name of bhakti. We just want to chant all day long and not take care of anything serious. I feel that's my disease. My good wife is always taking care of things. I'm very fortunate somehow, but we should be careful in our society, and we have our responsibilities, and we should do that. Once, when my Guru Maharaj was visiting London, he gave a class in a devotee's home. I always remember this story. And after the class, all the devotees were following Guru Maharaj like honeybees on top of honey. They were just stuck to him. And Guru Maharaj went and got in the car, and all the devotees were climbing in the car to get association with him. And the devotee whose home Guru Maharaj just gave a class also climbed in the car. And everybody in the car was getting ready to leave, and Guru Maharaj said, wait, stop. And he turned to that devotee whose home it was, and he pointed at him. He said, your wife is pregnant. Get out of the car. He said, your duty is to stay here and be with her, take care of her. And I always remember that. It's a very important thing. That's surrender. That's pleasing Guru. But externally, it may look like someone's a henpecked husband,
Right.
whatever, but internally it's something else. So,
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
thank you very much. It's nice to see you every week, Wajolreski. You have great comments. We're looking forward to seeing you here in Puri. Some
I
devotees
can't wait. Yes, Prabhu.
came from Phoenix today. I'm taking them around a little bit just before. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
I was going to call
Thank you.
Kushbu next. Kushbu, do you want to, let's see. I'm on my way back home, okay? So maybe she can't do her, come on. I'm just going to read what she says. Pranams, I'm on my way back home from BRC. I really like the point, BRC means the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, really like the point where you said that without devotees association, we're actually serving Maya. And also thank you for sharing how you came back to your Guru Maharaj to ask him whether he wanted you to do that seva. It was so beautiful, Prabhu. Everything depends on mercy of Hari Guru and Vaishnavas. Well, thank you, Kushbu. Kushbu is really a wonderful personality. For those of you who don't know, if you're visiting Kolkata and you don't go to the BRC, then it's like, sometimes they say 50% of your life wasted. I would say that's not true. It's more like 80% of your life wasted. If you don't go to the BRC and see Bhaktivinoda Thakur's original handwriting and Bhaktisiddhanta's diaries and an amazing collection they have there, and you get a chance to meet Kushbu, and that is such a wonderful thing. Maybe some of you are in India with us at the same time, maybe we can go together. It's one of my very favorite places in the world. So thank you, Kushbu. Natalia, do you want to share anything with us?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I was missing these classes. I just got so many, in so many details. I got some strength and reassuring on my serving devotees. I don't know. Maybe I also should change something, but for this moment, I needed just some strength, so I got it. Thank you. Just
Yeah, our strength comes not just from hearing Krishna Katha, but being in association with the devotees and contemplating things from different perspectives. It's really, really important. Really important. It's so wonderful. That's what devotees are for. And thank you for taking part like that in Krishna Katha. And how about Tirthakar Prabhu? Do you want to share anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Yes, I wanted to actually ask, you mentioned that only actually Gauranga Mahaprabhu is giving Krishna Prema. Can you a little clarify that, like all other incarnations when they have been here, let's say including Krishna before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these people who were worshipping them, the devotees, did they achieve Krishna Prema, but it's different because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving Goloka Prema, or they actually couldn't get Krishna Prema at all?
Rupa Goswami addresses Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as mahavadanyaya avatar, and Kaviraj Goswami gives us some indication in his mangalacarana in the 4th verse. We were just quoting this in our chat this morning, I think it was, or last night, about the nature of Guru. And he says there that anarpita chirim chirat. Chirat means for a long time. This is something which had not been given for a long, long time. And in the commentary on this verse, which is ascribed to Baladi Vidyabhushan, it said there that, or ascribed to Jiva Goswami, excuse me. Jiva says that this indicates that it wasn't given by other avatars. Other avatars, and we give examples from the Vishnu Purana that it's only Krishna who can give liberation even. And even when the Lord comes as Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Ramachandra, he doesn't give liberation. And Parasara Muni notes that in Vishnu Purana, when he gives that example, and how Lord Nrsingadev, although he killed Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu didn't get liberation. He saw Lord Nrsingadev as some extraordinary animal or something. And then again he took birth, and this time he came as Kumbhakarna, And as Kumbhakarna, again he was killed, but again he didn't get liberation because again he was thinking that oh, this is just an ordinary human being. And then again he came as Shishupal, and as Shishupal he got liberation when he was killed by Krishna. He recognized that Krishna was Bhagavan. And so there's some pramanas, Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita cites this also, and he has a whole section about how only Krishna can give liberation. So what to speak of prema? And if we read in Untitled Chapter 3 and 4, we'll see Kaviraj Goswami gives so many pramanas for that. And also in this fourth verse of the chapter 1 about you, Anarpita Chiryam Chirat. In a long time this hasn't been given. Karuna Avatirna Kalo. That he's so merciful that he's descended in this age of Kali. And what does he come to give? Samapayitam means to give. Unnata Ujvala Rasa Swabhakti Shriyam. He's come to give Unnata Ujvala Rasa, which means the conjugal mellow, which is Unnata, the most elevated Ujvala Rasa. But it's not just Madhurja Rasa, but it's Swabhakti Shriya. It's the essence of that. And that's really Krishna Prem. That's the mood of the Manjaris. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is giving that thing. And no other avatar before had given that. And therefore Rupa Goswami describes him as being mahavadanyaya avatar. Does that make things a little more clear now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tirthakar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And let's see, who else is here? Gwanitai Prabhu, do you want to share anything? You still here? You are?
Yes, Prabhu, shortly, if it's possible.
Sure. You look like you're in a different house now.
Yeah, I am with my daughter's house. I'm in my daughter's house because tomorrow I'm leaving. So she's living in Budapest. I visited them before I'm leaving to Poland. So thank you very much for this example that how important to make sure that all desire is not just permitted by Guru Maharaj. So that's happened also with this tour, because of course I'm living in New Vrajadam with supporting the Goshala, and I'm not an important person there, but still we are not so many. So when this invitation letter came from Poland, please devotees come to help us. I have a desire to do that. So, but I understood that that's a long time when I'm not here. So maybe other devotees will miss me. So I started to nicely ask them what happened. What if I leave, for a little bit longer time? And it was a very good moment. So the devotee who is in charge of the Koshala, he told, yes, okay, we will solve it, no problem. So next day, I wrote letter to my Guru Maharaj. My authority agree. Just please give me your blessings. And somebody wrote me back, if your authorities agree, I don't mind. Good time. So I was started thinking why he's writing that if authorities, I already wrote that authorities agree. And you make sure that after 2 days, there was a meeting and the same person told me, hey, how you can understand? You don't understand. We so much need you. Please don't go. After I bought a ticket, after I arranged everything, it was a shock for me. But my Guru Maharaj, I'm sure he was feeling that. And then I thought, okay, later we will speak about it. And evening I went to him back and I asked, please, Prabhu, so what is the situation? So first you give permission, and no, you think I stay. And he told, yes, because if anything happened, at least you know what to do. So then I was thinking what to do, and then thought, Prabhu, I will ask some other devotee to come and replace me, and I promise, anytime, if you really need me, just call me, I buy a ticket and come back. In the middle of the festival, because it's my home. So then I felt okay, because he told, yes, okay, no problem, go. And then I felt, yes, that's it's not just one permission. We have to work deeply and have to understand the inner heart of other devotees, and then we follow our Guru Maharaj desires. So it's so deep. Thank you very much to
Krishna, you know, when I see you, Prabhuji, I see the peace that comes when someone works with the cows. Today we were at Siddha Bakul and with a couple devotees, and we were speaking some things about Haridas Thakur and Siddha Bakul. And as I'm talking, when we got there, everything was quiet. But then I started talking after 10 minutes or so. This calf that was there started making all kinds of noise, really crying out. And so we finished our talk, and I went over to the calf, and I started rubbing it and scratching it, and immediately it stopped making all the noise. And I thought, yeah, he wants attention. That's all he's saying. Look, you're giving this talk. I'm over here. I need your help. So that was just coming to my mind with you, with the cows. They're very, very sweet and innocent like that.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I'm leaving now.
Okay. Let's see. Jai Gour Prabhu, do you want to share anything? Did you win any prize today? I can't hear you.
How about now?
It's better.
Okay. One thing that really touched my heart that I liked is when you were speaking about the vanca kalpatarubhyas verse, and just, speaking about how the devotees are the manifestation of Mahaprabhu's mercy. And I was thinking about something I've heard you say before, but Padmanabha Swami said it the other day as well. And he said, Vaishnavism, the word means worship of the devotees, worship of the Vaishnavas, not worship of Vishnu. And, that's very sweet to me, because I've been feeling like lately when you really begin to understand that a little bit, there's a special type of awareness that you live your life with. And I think now that I'm trying to become a little more introspective, and I can see that in other people, that what does it mean? What does worship mean? There's so much love and care there, and just happiness and desire to serve, and just seeing that in other devotees and their relationships, and trying to put that into my relationships with the devotees. I think that's been a really valuable thing. Oh, you're muted, Prabhu.
Our life is to learn how to please Guru and Krishna. But to practice that, just like someone wants to learn to ride a bicycle, but first you have training wheels. So we could say, in one sense, as an illustration, we get the Vaishnavas, we get to serve the Vaishnavas. And we have our friends, we have our associates, we have our relatives, devotees that we're close with. And if we can learn to think of their feelings, but so many times we're so unconscious, we just think of ourselves, and it makes things very difficult. All right, anybody else, anything in here in the room? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there then. Jaguar, you had something else? I can't hear you.
I don't remember if Leela Purushottam Prabhu said anything.
No, he didn't. That's right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Krishna Kun says she's waiting for Leela Purushottam. But if I didn't call him Leela Purushottam, everybody'd be really pissed off at me. So, Leela Prabhu, I'm sorry.
I won many prizes today, actually. I was really, I liked your point that we say or read those prayers with our relationship to the verses. Like you mentioned it with the connection with this namo mahavadanyaya. I was thinking, yeah, actually this verse I always was struck with because the verse itself, like alone, was for a long time for me like not really approachable. It was like too abstract. Oh, Gauranga is giving prema, very nice. But then when I've heard the story, how Rupa Goswami first recited that prayer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Ramakeli, and the situation and the mood of Rupa Goswami of saying it, then it was like it was something that created a relationship to the verse, like with he's praying for like glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as one who's giving prema bhakti, and he's doing it with such a humility, such dhainya. And it was very nice in your recent kathas to connect it, like as you were speaking a lot about the relationship between dhainya and prema. So that's one thing I really like, this idea of having my personal feeling towards the prayer and my personal relationship to it somehow. Then I really loved your answer to Guna Sundari. This with this story of your bringing the idea to Srila Govinda Maharaj that you will go somewhere to learn the pujas, and then you will install the deities, and then this reflection, this like when you like the whole story is I remember hearing it a few times already, and it always blows my mind. like I mean, especially the instant realization. Like you could go through it, the whole thing. You could spend months somewhere learning something, and then come back and you know, scratching your head like, oh, is it really what Guru Maharaj wanted? But it was like instant, you know, you just left the door and turned and come back to Maharaj to confirm what is really his desire. So it's also very nice. And connected to it, you made a wonderful statement, and you gave some examples of Gaudiya devotees also, that devotee will serve his guru even over his bhajan. This is strong. And I was remembering actually, it happened to me when I was traveling with Guru Maharaj here around Europe, around farms of Middle Europe. I had my shilas with me, and Guru Maharaj had his shilas with me, and it was part of my service to prepare for his puja, the boga offering, paraphernalia, and everything. And after a few days, I got into personal panic that by preparing Guru Maharaj's puja, I just can't do properly the puja for my shilas that were traveling also for me. And I had to actually come to that conclusion that what's the value of your, you know, throwing the water from one pot to another compared to the real service of Guru Maharaj. And I can anyway, my puja is anything else than assistance to Guru Maharaj's worship of Krishna. So that was like very, it connected to me with this my story, this statement of devotee will serve his guru even over his bhajan, because I remember how difficult for me it was to overcome that that I don't know what maybe a cliche of one's own puja, you know, in the conception of disciple thinking like I have my own puja, and you know, so I really had to be exposed to such a strong situation that I really didn't have the time by preparing things for Guru Maharaj for doing my puja, and it brought me to that understanding that there is no value for my puja without seeing it as Guru Maharaj's service to Krishna. Actually.
Wow. That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to find that statement, by the way. I'll paste it into our chat. If I don't find it now, it'd be nice if I can find it now. I'll paste it into our chat because it's a pretty radical statement, but that's what Shastra says. I'm sorry, you wanted to add something else?
Yeah, I had few controversies also here because you touched few topics that we've been discussing over last few days in our reading group in the evenings, and I've been like almost challenged by one devotee, very nice devotee, very sincere devotee, but he has his experience that he had to go through periods where he came out from the situation with the feeling that he was exploited by his authority, by his temple president, and then I put into discussion into another context, but I put there this stress on Guru and Vaishnava Seva, that's our way of progressing in Krishna consciousness. Then he challenged me with pointing out like, can't this conception, this statement, be exploited by, say, unqualified leaders or something? So it was quite interesting to how to deal with it, because obviously it may be exploited with, oh Prabhu, you better serve the Vaishnavas and follow your authority. That's the way of progress, and it is. but if you're year after year, you're facing like, you have to face your inner feelings of being exploited and not really concerned, like not really cared for your real well-being, just at the cost of the project or something. So that was
That's a really good point. I hear a similar thing many times from devotees. They say that because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Anandaka Hore Jai Sakrit Krishna Boli Satya Satya Muni Tari Udari Vahele. He said just two things. He said, please, one thing you do and one thing you don't do. He said, chant Krishna's name and don't criticize the Vaishnavas. So I've heard many times devotees saying that well, yeah, people take advantage of that. And they say, you shouldn't criticize any Vaishnavas, and it means that it means you can't criticize the leaders, and the leaders can do any damn thing they want and exploit you in that. And it's true, that's been done like that. But I've heard these statements from advanced Vaishnavas, and they didn't stress that we should worry about being taken advantage of. Rather, they always stressed that if we're simple and we take shelter of the holy name and we serve, then Gurudev will protect us. Krishna will protect us. He'll give us intelligence who to stay away from if we need to, whatever.
Yeah, that's very nice on the platform of attitude, and that was one thing that we came to, that conclusion of one's own sincerity, simplicity. Not being the duplicitous. And also I stress the point that you have to take responsibility for yourself, for your decisions in such a situations. That it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a right to deal with that situation. Like, okay, if I feel exploited here and I have reasons for it, then I have to change my situation in, to find the proper sadhusanga, backed up, as you mentioned, backed up with my own sincerity and desire for proper sadhusanga and for protection of Gurudev and like that.
Beautiful. Hey, let me put this on the screen, and I know what devotees are going to ask me. This Krishna Kun's going to ask me that I paste it into the chat. I'll also paste it into our chat, but I'll do it in WhatsApp because that's more permanent. Here I got it titled Guru Seva More Important Than Bhajan. It's Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. I said Jiva Goswami, but it was Vishwanath. It's his commentary on Bhagavatam 4:28-34, and there you have the Sanskrit, which I'm not going to read. But he says, Bhanu Maharaj translates, a devoted and chaste wife, someone who's sutanhit viti patibrata. Patibrata means that someone who's serving her husband. Even while she's serving her husband, she doesn't care for her son. Similarly, a disciple, eva guru sevayam, pravritti sishyaha, shravana kirtanadi napi. A disciple who's deeply absorbed in the service of Guru doesn't depend on hearing and chanting, knowing that by Guru Seva he can easily attain complete perfection and devotion. Just as a devoted wife does not want any sense enjoyment and home comfort, so too a disciple completely absorbed in Guru Seva does not seek even divine bliss arising out of hearing and chanting, nor even seek secluded places suitable to bhajan. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, Krishna Kun's pointing out, before any of our ISKCON leaders jump up and say, she's right, we shouldn't use that as an excuse. That's a fact. Because Tate Krishna Bhaji Kodi Guru Sevan, the general principle is that my Krishna Bhajan is my service to Guru. So if I'm not doing my non-bhajan, then what kind of service am I doing for Gurudev? But sometimes, like you were giving an example about your own deity worship, what a beautiful example. Somebody once came to me a little after Guru Maharaj left, and they said, Madhavananda, it's Maha Kumbh Mela, and the devotees are going to the Triveni, and if you take bath there, it's like the benefit of the benefit, and it's in the first, 1,000 years, all this stuff. And I looked at him, and I said, what benefit do you get? What's the best benefit you can get? And he was kind of quiet, and he looked a little confused. And I said, well, I'll answer that the best benefit you can get is you'll get association with advanced Vaishnava. That's the highest thing. And then what's the best thing you can get from association with an advanced Vaishnava? That advanced Vaishnava may accept you as his disciple. And if you are accepted by an advanced Vaishnava, he gives you initiation, he accepts you as his disciple, what's the best thing you can get in that relationship? You can get service. And I told the devotee, and I said, I already have service to my Guru Maharaj here. And if I go with you to your Mahakumbh Mela, it's a fall down. So I already have this thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going. And I missed out on getting the water, and seeing the naked sannyasis with the swords and all that stuff, getting my picture in National Geographic. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll stop there. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyas cha, Kripa Sindhu Vyeva cha, Patitanam Pav.